His question about the subjects.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Oh, what a compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? There are homeless and hungry.
Now it's time for us to stand up to God or we fall to nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public is saying.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands. This is Talk Today, and Kathy Miller filling in for Sterling Ebanks. This afternoon we have a packed show once again. On the line I have, waiting after our next break, we're going to be joining with her, but I have Mehr Petkovsek. I knew I was going to get the last name wrong. We're going to go with Mehr right now from the Family Resource Center. When she comes on, she will let me know how to pronounce her last name properly. From 1 to 1:30, we're going to be welcoming the newly crowned Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Georgina Kerford, and committee member Latrese Haylock. From 1:30 p.m. onwards, Minister for Tourism, the Honourable Kenneth Bryan, will be joining us to no doubt give some details on the Phase 3 COVID-19 regulation changes and answer questions in relation to tourism and our phase reopening plan. At least that's what I'm aiming for us to be speaking about this afternoon. Let's give it back for a quick commercial break and a disclaimer, and then we'll be joined with Mehr.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller. I want to remind our listeners that they can give us a call at 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp us at 925-3261. And joining us in this first segment of Talk Today, we have Mehr from the Family Resource Center. The Family Resource Center is an alliance member agency of the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, and we're focusing on the topic of domestic violence. So good afternoon, Mehr. Are you on the line with us?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
No problem. And now I'm sure you heard me attempt to say your last name. And I don't even think I got through it. So if you want to pronounce that for us.
That's okay. It's Mehr Petkovsek.
Petkovsek. Okay. All right. I'm going to stick with Mehr for now, but thank you for
absolutely
correcting me as well. And so I understand you're in quarantine right now, so you're joining us via the telephone line, yeah?
Yes, I am.
How's that quarantine going for you?
It's actually not too bad. We're on day 2, so still okay so far.
Oh, okay.
We stocked up on food, so we're doing okay for now.
Okay, excellent. And it sounds like you're not alone, so you won't have to be talking to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So we're here to talk about the Family Resource Center as an alliance member agency of the Crisis Center, and we're focused on the topic of domestic violence, correct?
Yes, exactly. So the alliance was formed actually in 2019. I couldn't remember the year for a second because last year was a bit of a blur. But it was formed in October of 2019, and it's a collaboration between several agencies who are primarily on the front line of supporting people who experience domestic violence to really create a coordinated process to make it simpler for people to leave abusive relationships.
Okay, so I want to be like, why was the alliance really formed? So we're finding that people are going to the different different agencies like the Family Resource Center with these issues that they're suffering with, and you're helping them find a way out from domestic violence.
Absolutely, and that's a really good question. What we actually found is we tried to map out the process for someone who's experiencing domestic violence to see, what are all the different agencies they have to access, and it turned into kind of a page that you couldn't even read with lines going everywhere. And the key thing to note is that for someone experiencing domestic violence, they may enter the system in various points, so it's not automatically that they would come to the Family Resource Center as the first point of contact, or the crisis center, or the police. They might come through a referral from the school. It might be through a counselor recognizing it. It might happen in the workplace. There's different ways that people come into the system and come into seeking support for the first time or for the 10th time for people who are experiencing domestic violence. And so we really want to make the process as simple as possible so that we don't have to, the person experiencing domestic violence and the family doesn't have to tell their story multiple times. And to hopefully make the process simpler, because on average globally, someone experiencing domestic violence will leave an abusive relationship 7 times before they leave for good, and that's just on average. So we want to reduce that number. We want to make it easier for people to be able to leave, and we want to really put the information out there so that people know where to go and who's available to support them.
So in the past, when people who were suffering from domestic violence, they were going to an agency, and perhaps that was the first step, and they'd have to go somewhere else and make a second step and a third and fourth and fifth and so on. And it can be discouraging. It can be daunting to that person already suffering. Is that what
exactly.
what you were finding in response?
Yes, exactly. So if you understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts at the very bottom with basic needs, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of times people who are experiencing domestic violence are leaving a lot of those basic needs behind when they're leaving. They may not know where they're going to stay. They may not know where their next meal is going to come from. They may not have their own finances and all of that. And so they may be accessing support at NAU first, or doing different things. But really that person is in crisis regardless of what their background, what their socioeconomic status is. And so we want to make that process simpler and be able to understand what their needs are. So we are still working on that process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's something that we, as a collaboration of organizations, are working towards. And it's going to be something that we do in partnership with people who've experienced domestic violence to really understand what their experience was, and how we can make that process better.
So we know that the process was complicated before and that you guys are working on it. Can you give us an idea of what that process looks like now?
So right now, the process hasn't changed all that much at this point. What we've been working on for the last 2 years, and particularly with almost 2 years, particularly with COVID happening, is increasing awareness in the community of the organizations that do exist and clarifying what the organizations that exist, what we all do. So that if there are certain needs that you have, there are certain agencies that we can go to, and to make our referral processes simpler. And so throughout COVID, we were doing a lot of webinars to the community about how to recognize signs of domestic violence in person as well as virtually, how to connect with people, how to stay supportive to them, and how to access agencies as necessary. And so we were doing a lot of community awareness, and that took, that was a different from what our initial plan was, but we were responding to what we needed to do in that moment to be able to support the community. And since then, we've continued doing that. We're going to resume our webinars next month as well during Domestic Violence Month. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we are continuing to get information. Now we've gone beyond the organizations that are part of the Alliance, and we're getting information from organizations who are not core members of the Alliance, but who may also interact with people who experience domestic violence, like different counseling organizations like the YMCA or the school system, to figure out what all of their protocols are if they come across someone who's experiencing domestic violence. And then using that, we're going to really start to look at what that process what are some of the gaps, and what is also the duplication of services that are being offered. And then in October, we are putting together a group of people who've experienced domestic violence so that we can start engaging them in the process and have conversations with them about what their experiences are.
I want to touch back on when you said that during COVID you were putting on webinars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for people that were, well, we know COVID, first of all, people were in lockdown, so you're with your families a lot more during the daytime. On, I think it was Sundays, we couldn't even leave our house. So I think it was that day that you're constantly, if you're living with somebody else, a spouse or just in a relationship with somebody, and you're with them so much more, so the opportunity arises for there to be more conflict, more tension, and you don't get your personal time as much. So the thought was there is going to be a rise in domestic violence. And did we see that for the Cayman Islands? Did we see that lockdown did bring an increased rate of domestic violence?
In the Cayman Islands, the statistics from the RCIPS did not show an increase in domestic violence, and the main reason for that we found was likely because a lot of our reports come from organizations, from the school system, and from surrounding people and community members rather than from the people directly experiencing the abuse. And it's harder in a time like that to be able to recognize those signs. And so our webinars were very much a response to that, because we found that we did not target our webinars to people experiencing domestic violence, because it would be very difficult for them to be able to watch something like that.
Right. That's what I was gonna come to that. How do they?
Yes.
If they're in that environment, how are they getting direct advice or guidance when that environment is right there in their face?
Absolutely. So what we did was our webinars were very much directed to to community members and how they can support. So how to recognize signs for people who are experiencing domestic violence, how to create kind of a communication system with friends or family members to make sure that you are connecting with them, and how to support them throughout that process. So it was really focused on how could we make it easier to recognize those signs and then what to do about it if you recognize that someone, whether it be a colleague, a friend, a family member, if you recognize that someone might be experiencing domestic violence.
Okay,
I think we have also seen a increase in those stats, but I don't know for sure since our lockdown ended.
Okay. We're going to return to that train of thought after this commercial message, so hang on the line with us, and we're going to return to our conversation with Mehr from the Family Resource Center.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vant Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Attention!
Family and friends, now hear this.
Le Classique has up to 75% off all shoes for men and women.
Family and friends, call your auntie, call your mother, call your sister. All shoes on sale, 30, 40, and yes, up to 75% off.
Uncle Joe, the land belt's on sale too, 40% off. Le Classique Family and Friends sale.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Miss it? Your matter what?
Le Classique at the Strand is open 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The Department of Commerce and Investment is asking clients to use their online services at www.dci.gov.ky for trade and business amendments, grant and renewal applications, and more. While the DCI counters remain open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, you can stay safe, avoid the line, and save time by applying online for business services at dci.gov.ky. For questions about the DCI's online service or other licensing enforcement or regulatory matters, please email info@dci.gov.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller. I'm filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks on this fine Friday afternoon, and we have joining us via telephone is Mehr from the Family Resource Center. We were explaining before the break that the Family Resource Center is an alliance member agency of the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, and Mehr was detailing what it means to be an alliance member and why the alliance was formed to help out the Crisis Center and, of course, the people mainly formed to help people who are suffering from domestic violence. Mehr, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
No problem. With a brief overview of the FRC, that's what I want to get is what you guys do to provide services. So people know that you're an alliance agency, but I guess, what are people mainly going to the Family Resource Center for as opposed to going, let's say, to the Crisis Center? How do you get your client base coming to you?
Absolutely. So the Family Resource Center is a part of the Department of Counseling Services, and we are primarily focused on parenting support. And so we work with parents and children, families as a whole, to focus on any mild or chronic dysfunction, whether that be we deliver workshops such as positive discipline, co-parenting for parents who are parenting through separation or divorce. We have a young parents program, and we also deliver individual parent coaching, as well as several other programs and services. And so with regards to domestic violence, we usually come across it as we are working with a client. When we're working with families, it might be something that we learn at the beginning, or it might be something that comes out through the conversation. And we provide crisis intervention. We provide, we work with clients if we need to develop safety plans for them or with them. And we work with them to do any case management or make referrals to other organizations as necessary.
Now, when you say you're speaking with families, this could, and sometimes there's a stigma that it's only women that are suffering domestic violence. And that's not true. Men experience the same thing. do you offer services for both men and women? And I
Yes,
asked that
absolutely.
okay. I asked that specifically because I know some agencies are, I want to say, more focused towards helping the women while they're trying to gather the resources as well to have a division to help out men who are suffering.
Yes, absolutely. So we provide services to men and women. And we provide services regardless of gender, and we our services are focused on the family. A lot of our services tend to be focused on, putting the child first and how to make sure the child is safe in all scenarios, and that includes in domestic violence scenarios as well, because children are impacted by when there is domestic violence in the household.
Oh, absolutely. What is the FRC's mandate as it relates to domestic violence within the Cayman Islands?
And so that's more focused on what I was speaking about in regards to safety planning and crisis intervention. We do deliver a domestic violence intervention training program. We deliver it 3 times a year. It's a 3-day training for frontline individuals who are working with domestic violence, whether that be HR professionals, police officers, social workers. And we go through what domestic violence is, what are the signs, how to recognize it and how to respond to it. And so that's a very in-depth training that we provide. We also deliver training to other organizations as necessary, but our main focus is from a parenting perspective. We do, we're not running it right now, but we do run healing circle workshops, which are workshops for people who've experienced domestic violence, and other programs and services that are related, but our main focus is on the family unit.
Okay. When you talked about the crisis intervention, now you had mentioned you do three-day training programs for, I would say, like the front-facing workers that have to deal directly with victims of domestic violence. That's included in your crisis intervention? Like that's part of it, I should say, that program?
That would be more of like a prevention response training. Crisis intervention is as we're working with someone who's experiencing domestic violence. So if someone comes to us in crisis, if someone discloses to us, how do we support them in the moment? That would be crisis intervention. And so a lot of that includes is safety planning, making sure that, if we need to call the crisis center or we need to help them find safe shelter. And the really important part of that is the safety planning. So depending on the circumstances, whether someone has left an abusive relationship or they're still in that relationship, whether they have children, they're working, we safety plan with individuals for their individual circumstances to make sure that, they are prepared in case they run into a perpetrator, or if they're living with their perpetrator, if a violent incident is to occur.
What happens when it's a situation where it's an emergency situation and you need to move that family, whether it be the mother and child or the father and child, out of that home right away? They cannot return home. What happens in these situations?
And so that's where we would work with the Crisis Center and the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service to make sure that individual is safe. And both of those organizations are also member agencies of the Alliance to End Domestic Violence, and so it is a collaborative approach. But in circumstances where someone comes to us in crisis in a dangerous situation, we're going to be calling the police to help support them.
Do you find that often happens, or yours is more the counseling level? That's more so what you deal with.
Because we are not a crisis-focused agency. We do encounter that, but not to the same extent as the Crisis Center or the police would. Usually when disclosures of domestic violence are made to us, it's through parenting sessions. And, we're learning about something that's going on in the household, and we're working with them to identify that as even being domestic violence, and then supporting them to make sure that they are safe.
What are some of the greatest impacts that you're seeing on children, the effects that they're receiving being in a household and experiencing domestic violence?
Absolutely. I think the hardest part is that, children pick up on a lot of behavior that's modeled by parents. And so in depending on the age of the child, it's affecting them in different ways. And so what you might find is a child, also exhibiting similar behaviors. You might find a child who is exhibiting aggression at school, bullying behaviors, different things like that. Or you might find a child who's trying to get involved in an altercation, depending on their age, between the parents, trying to break it up. And so that's part of where we are safety planning on, what is the child, if an altercation is to happen, we don't want the child getting involved in it. We want, maybe the child's job is to call 911, so that they are not involved in it, but they have something that they can do in that situation. But it really is that the hardest part is that they are witnessing it, or that, even if they're not in the room, sometimes parents might say, that child wasn't in the room, they were sleeping, they weren't involved, but children can sense tension, they know what's going on.
They can hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Much more than we think that they can, and so it does affect them in a day-to-day basis. And so when a child is involved in a family that's experiencing domestic violence, we are making a MASH report as well. So that's to the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, which is a collaboration between the RCIPS and the Department of Children and Family Services.
Yes.
They are also a member of the Alliance to End Domestic Violence. And so anytime a child is involved, we're making a report there so that they are aware as well.
Okay, now with the children that might be displaying aggressive behavior or acting out at home, acting out in public, do you work with them directly to encourage or change that behavior, or work with them to give them tools in helping them cope and helping them normalize, I guess, once again? I don't know if normalize is the right word there, but I think you get the gist of it.
Yeah, so we provide psychoeducation to all of our families. So if they are experiencing domestic violence, from whether they are someone experiencing it, whether they are perpetrating domestic violence, are providing psychoeducation about healthy relationships, about conflict resolution, about self-control, emotion regulation, and also the effects of domestic violence on children and families. So lots of information is coming into our parenting support in all circumstances. And one of the things that we as the Family Resource Center have started to do, particularly in the last year and a half, is speak about what are called adverse childhood experiences and how that affects children later into their lives. So we are, providing information at all times so that parents are understanding how their behavior affects their children, and that, that really is our primary role as an organization.
So often I hear parents say, "Oh, he or she doesn't understand me. They're too young to understand what's going on," and they'll speak freely in front of that child, or behave in a way that you wouldn't want your children mimicking that behavior, picking up on that behavior, because you think they're too young. They won't be impacted by it. So I think that I forget the term that you used just now, but in looking at perhaps how childhood trauma affects you as an adult, and the coping mechanisms, the tools that you need to learn to heal with that, I think that's an important thing to address as well. So kudos to the Family Resource Center for embarking on that mission as well. We have to go to a next commercial break, but we will join Mehr back from the Family Resource Center as we continue to discuss domestic violence awareness.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1? And a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
Do you have plans to travel to the UK? You must provide a letter of certification from Public Health and your vaccination certificate issued in the Cayman Islands. If traveling to the UK via the Bahamas, the United States, Canada, Jamaica, or any other Amber List country. If you are traveling directly to the UK from Cayman, no letter of certification is necessary. Letters of certification may be requested by emailing vaccinecertification@hsa.ky. Travelers must attach a copy of their vaccination card as a screenshot attached to their email request. All requests will take 3 business days to process, and letters will only be issued within 3 weeks of a person's date of travel. Letters of certification are only needed if traveling to the UK via any Amber List country. Travelers to the UK coming directly from the Cayman Islands do not require a letter of certification.
What do you do if you have to go to a shelter? To help you safely prepare, evacuate, and shelter while protecting yourself and others from COVID-19 this hurricane season, here's some tips from the Public Health Department. If you must go to a shelter, be ready to protect yourself and others. Practice social distancing of at least 6 feet from others. Follow public health's preventative actions. Wash your hands with soap and water, often if possible, or use hand sanitizer, cover coughs and sneezes, and wear mask or cloth face coverings. Get your COVID-19 vaccine when eligible. Avoid sharing food and drink with anyone. For more guidance to update your emergency hurricane plans due to coronavirus, visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, and joining me via telephone is Mehr from the Family Resource Center, and we are discussing domestic violence and how the Family Resource Center is an Alliance member agency. Mehr, welcome back.
Hi, welcome back. Oh, sorry. Thank you for welcoming me back.
No problem at all. It's that kind of a day. I feel like this today is a little disjointed for me, so I completely understand. We were talking about some of the things, some of the services that the Family Resource Center is offering for victims of domestic violence, whether they be families, children, or individuals. And you were telling us about a couple of the member agencies. We know that the Family Resource Center is a member agency of the Alliance, but can you mention who the others are and how you all work together?
Yes, absolutely. So we are one of the members. The Crisis Center is another member agency of the Alliance. So it's the Family Resource Center, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, the Gender Affairs Unit, the Department of Community Rehabilitation, and the Department of Children and Family Services, which includes the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub. So those are the 6 agencies that primarily make up the Alliance to End Domestic Violence. And we communicate on a regular basis, but we meet on a monthly basis to work towards our goals. So we have goals that we've identified, our main mission being to empower people to live lives free from domestic violence through multi-agency coordination, advocacy, and public education. And so within that, we've identified a few goals that are, short-term and long-term goals, because this isn't something that, we can change overnight, but it is something that we continue to work on in various ways. And, we've been very focused on the public education advocacy, and we're starting to focus more on the multi-agency coordination piece, as I mentioned earlier. And a lot of it has to happen kind of in that way. So that the first thing that we're doing is we're raising awareness of what domestic violence is within the community and what services are available, so that even as we're doing the work to make the processes easier, people do know that there are organizations available to support them.
Okay, and I know you might have answered this in perhaps the first question that I asked you at the very beginning of our interview, but the Family Resource Center's role as a member agency within the Alliance to End Domestic Violence. Can you explain directly what your role is?
Absolutely. So all of the organizations, our role is to bring the perspective of our organizations and the people that we work with. And so it's really figuring out that we primarily work with people from a family and parenting standpoint, and how do we support them. And all of the member agencies together work on our goals and work on the mission that we have as the Alliance. The way that the Alliance was formed was by looking at which agencies and organizations have direct influence on people who are experiencing domestic violence. So we are one of the organizations that, we have clients who experience domestic violence, and it's something that we see often. And it's something that, we do support. We have direct mandates to support them, as I mentioned, with our crisis intervention and our training. Mm-hmm. And so with that, the other organizations involved in the Alliance also have direct mandates. And then we as the Alliance work with our organizations who are outside of those core organizations to also talk to them about what policies they have and how we can support them. So that might include doctors' offices, it might include churches, counseling organizations, but the core 6 organizations are the ones who are directly working on the mission.
Okay, now, I've heard it several times, in the past especially, that cases will be dropped. People who report domestic violence are going through some pretty serious issues. Their case, in that sense, and when I say case, I don't mean it's gone to court, but, you have a client file, you have a client that's going through some problems. Sometimes they're forgotten about, they're lost along the system, things aren't properly either filed or followed up on. Is this agency Alliance, is that also done in hopes of being able to mitigate that problem? Do you ensure that you all follow up with each other on particular cases, so that, let's say, for example, that the crisis center might forget about something? Would you come along and say, hey, so-and-so, where are we with this particular individual or family? What's going on here? Is there people that are looking out and accountability in that sense?
Alliance is it's a collaboration of our agencies that do that work individually, but the Alliance together does not look at individual case files for confidentiality purposes.
Okay.
Because we may have clients who are not accessing services at all of those organizations that are involved as part of the Alliance.
Okay.
But individually, if we as a Family Resource Center have clients who are being supported by the RCIPS or by the Crisis Center, and they're having any challenges, we will reach out individually to that organization and help support them through our case management services.
Okay.
But the Alliance is focused more on the coordination of the process and, the system as a whole, rather than individual cases of people who are, particularly for the data management and confidentiality reasons.
Right. So that was one of my things. I'm like, well, it could be a breach of privacy, but if you're all working together, I'm curious if information was being shared between those core agencies. But as you explained, no, unless you directly are working with a client that you had to pass off and you have to follow up on them. Then in that sense, you do follow up, you do share the information.
Right, but that would be outside of the Alliance. It would be within our own agency mandate and with permission from the individual themselves.
Okay, excellent. If people are experiencing, or they're experiencing themselves domestic abuse, or they suspect a family, a coworker, or a friend might be enduring domestic violence, how would they access your service? What would you recommend be their next step?
Absolutely. So they can access our services primarily, again, as I mentioned, for case management, safety planning, crisis intervention, or, in general, parenting support and family support. They can access our services by calling us at 949-0006. That's 949-0006, or by emailing us at frc@gov.ky. So that's frc@gov.ky. If someone is in a crisis situation and they are in an emergency experiencing domestic violence, we always recommend for you to call 911. And if you need any support or advice, or if you have any questions specific to domestic violence, there is also the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, which has a phone number that you can contact. They have a 24-hour crisis line, and that number is 943-2422.
Okay, and we have a final thought to get out there. So we know that next month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That's for the month of October. So beginning next Friday, October 1st. Wow, it's coming so fast. I know that the FRC has some plans for that. Can you tell us what's on your agenda in regards to the Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
Yeah, so we will be doing, the Alliance and Domestic Violence as a whole will be doing a campaign for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so all of the agencies in collaboration together. We will be back on Talk Today next Friday, October 1st, to launch Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and that Sunday we will be we'll be hosting a church service. You will be able to find all of the details for the Alliance events for Domestic Violence Awareness Month early next week on our Facebook page, which is Alliance NDB. And so we hope you look out for that. We hope to see you at some of our events.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you for joining us via telephone. I know it's a bit of a different scenario in the sense doing an interview over the phone and not face-to-face in studio. And I hope the rest of your quarantine goes as good as could be expected for quarantine. That's what I have to say. Thanks again so much, Mehr from Family Resource Center, for joining us to give us an update and let us know about the Alliance member agency of the Cayman Islands Crisis Center and how the Family Resource Center is helping to bring awareness to and help to stop domestic violence in the Cayman Islands. We're going to go to the 1 p.m. headline news, and after that, we'll be joined in studio by Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Miss Georgina Kerford.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Chief Medical Officer, Dr. John Lee, reports that as of 8 a.m. this morning, there have been 404 PCR tests since the last report on Thursday morning. Of these, there is one new positive test in a traveler. There have been 105,903 COVID-19 vaccinations given in total in the Cayman Islands. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Two men posing as lawyers shot dead a notorious gangster inside a courtroom in India's capital, Delhi. They opened fire at Jitendra Mangogi inside the court in Rohini, where a case was being heard against him. Officials say police returned fire, killing the two men. Police suspect a rival gang planned the attack. And Harry Potter star Tom Felton was carried off a Wisconsin golf course after collapsing during a celebrity match ahead of the Ryder Cup. The actor, who turned 34 on Wednesday, experienced a medical incident and was sent to a local hospital for treatment. Pictures showed him conscious while being removed in a cart. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Listen to to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And in this segment of Talk Today, we have our newly crowned Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Georgina Kerford, and committee member Latrese Haylock.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Cayman.
How are you ladies doing?
Good, great. Just still soaking up all the love and excitement.
I'm sure you are. How would you feel to know that there was, everybody has their contestants, right? Mm-hmm. And I had 2 top picks, and you were definitely one of them.
Oh, thank you.
And that was from, I would say, the very, very beginning of seeing the pictures come out of the girls, not reading anything, just on a purely superficial level, which was just, how does this girl look like? And you were absolutely one of my top picks there out of the...
Thank you.
I had 2 of them. I was like, okay, it's going to be this one or this one. So I'm glad to know that my predictions are working out.
Yeah,
so Vegas, here we come. But congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. I'm so excited.
No problem. It's not even been a week yet. So you were crowned last Saturday.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, okay. But you won last, I guess.
Yes.
Was it just after midnight that they announced
I think it was, probably 10-15 minutes right after midnight.
Yeah, I was watching from a friend's home, so we had our little watch party, which was exciting. How does it feel for you right now to know that, I think you're one of the youngest, if not the youngest?
Yeah,
winner?
I'm the first 18-year-old in 3 decades, and right now I'm the only 18-year-old at Miss Universe so far, because there are still pageants going on.
Wow, so how does that make you feel?
I feel so proud of myself for being one of the youngest and showing so many of the young Caymanians have reached out to me and said, this is amazing to see that young females can actually reach their dreams at such a young age and that I am determined. And that just makes me feel amazing that these young children can look up to me and go, you know what? I can do that. I can enter in the next 2-3 years and I can do that. So it's an amazing feeling, and I can't wait to go to Israel and meet all the rest of the other females.
Is it intimidating at all, knowing that, okay, so far, even in Israel, you at the Miss Universe global competition, you might be one of the youngest, if not the youngest there. Does that intimidate you whatsoever, or is it a welcoming feeling?
It's pretty exciting, actually. If I'm the only 18-year-old there, I'm definitely going to, post that up and be like, wow, that's crazy. But I would definitely want to have the wisdom from the older girls passed down to me and give me as much information, because some of them have done pageants before. This was my first pageant, so I'm definitely all ears to hear what I can do to be better.
And I'm sure the former Miss Cayman Islands Universe winners are passing down that information.
So much information.
So in this past week, what has happened? What have you had to do so far? I'm sure the media appearances.
So a bunch of radio talks and just getting back on social media. Have so many offers to do more interviews, which is crazy. I'm so excited about that. And I'm still working, so I'm trying to balance, going from work to these. And my team is so amazing with the flexibility. Shout out to Travel Cayman. I'm really upset I'm leaving, but they are keeping our country safe. So I'm so proud to be a part of that team.
It's going to be an amazing experience, especially in Israel. I think that's... Yes. I want to say it's the first time in the Middle East that they're doing...
Yeah, I definitely have to say so.
Yeah, that's kind of monumental. Mm-hmm. And they're, if I'm correct, they're also supposed to be COVID-free. Well, I don't know if they're COVID-free, but I know that they had a regulation that if you're going to live in Israel, whether you want to get vaccinated or not, whether you're an Israeli, you have to get vaccinated if you want to live in that country. So they're very strict about their... So travel there and your comfort level there should be pretty good. I don't think you have to worry as much as you might in, let's say,
other countries.
Florida again.
Yeah.
Like last year.
Yes.
So we know that Israel's coming up. That's December.
Yes.
Correct? So, and I'm sure the main priorities right now are focusing.
Yes, just training, runway, dance, public speaking, etiquette, getting all these costumes, getting tickets, just organizing everything, as we only have a month and a half, 2 months to get ready.
That's locally.
Yes.
Right, a month and a half, 2 months locally to get ready. And then when do
I
you
will
fly
be
out?
leaving, I think, mid-November, late November.
Oh.
Yeah, it so for the international pageant, the girls arrive at least 2 to 3 weeks prior to the actual event, and within those 3 weeks, they're preparing for on-stage performance as well as doing different photo shoots and just basically everything that we do here at home. It's it's condensed into 2-3 weeks for these girls. So
where you get to know each other, you do the little sightseeing, the tours, and everything else. Okay. All right. So are you going to be bringing, I guess somebody from Cayman has to be a chaperone in a sense.
Yes.
But what about your actual kind of training team? Do they get to travel with you as well?
I am actually not sure about that. I would hope, at least one of my trainers could come and, be the one to give me support and be like, it's okay, you're doing good. But I think most of the support and family are going to stay here because it is such a far travel. And with COVID regulations, I don't want to put anyone's life or family in risk.
Is most of your training going to be with local people, or is there, and Latrese might be able to answer this as well, or is there more people coming, the pageant coaches from Florida or perhaps Jamaica? I know we've had a close relation with them in the past. I don't know if that's individually selected by the Miss Cayman universe at that time, or if it's something that the committee helps out with. But when it comes to the trainers for the big competition, is that somebody local, or are we looking for more?
Well, in the past, we've had girls go to Nicaragua, Jamaica, New York, and I think right now with COVID, I think we're just still in that decision-making process for traveling, especially with the new community transmission. So I think that once things are finalized, then that will definitely be announced. But in the case of like traveling, usually 1 or 2 committee members go with the girl, stay with her for the first day or 2, just so that she's registered, and then maybe I think the most that's ever traveled to see the international pageant was probably 5 people, mostly the family members of the Queen, her immediate family members, and like 2 or 3 people from the committee. So of course with the distance and COVID, I think this year is just going to be a little bit harder to pinpoint directly if those decisions haven't completely been made yet.
Right.
So I think it's just really the environment that we're living in within the next couple of months that we're gonna see. So I mean, even if there's training Jamaica or any of those, they may be done virtually because of travel restrictions. But we'll see when the time gets closer. All that will be announced.
Right. And I know right now you have to quarantine if you're coming into Cayman. So that's if you were to travel to go anywhere, you have to look at those at least 7 days, right? Depending if you're vaccinated or not. So it's those things that you have to look at, and it makes things a little bit more stressful, right?
So it's all those little details in between.
Okay. So if you could tell us what a day in the life of Georgina was like before Miss Cayman Islands compared to what a day in the life for you as the Queen is currently.
So when I was in the pageant or before that?
Before you entered the competition.
Well, I am a morning person, so I was always up by 6 anyway. And if I wanted to work out earlier, I'd wake up earlier. But, having great breakfast, going to work with Travel Cayman. And I also worked at the Marriott Hotel a year ago. So I've always been working, and, the wake up, you got to go to work, do your work, and come home. But it was just, as people say, a normal life. You wake up, you go to work, do what you have to do, come home and relax with family. And now it's like, I wake up, gotta do makeup, gotta get my hair done, reply to messages, see if I have anything else added onto my agenda. I'm still working, so managing that as well. Finding new clothes, because I do not own a lot of clothes that are bright and colorful. But as well, trying to balance seeing family and friends has definitely been a challenge. As I was before the pageant, I was always around them, and it was hard not to see some of your closest friends and be reminded, that everything in life you have to love and not take for granted. So I'm trying to balance that now, and hopefully I will see some of them.
It's a hard balance to make, but I think
They all understand the process, so
those that support you and want to see the best for you will completely understand that you got to take some months immediately right now, especially to focus on Miss Universe. So we know that's your focus right now, at least in these next 2 to 3 months. But when you return from the Miss Universe competition, what are your goals as Miss Cayman Islands? What would you hope to achieve? What is your focus on in those next 3 months?
One of the goals I've said is that I would like to go to every school on the island and meet with all the kids, as I did go to Triple C school before I actually won the title of Miss Cayman, and I got to see the young primary schools. You know, the education system has expanded and it has become so good with technology, the way that they're learning. And I also got to talk to the high schoolers and the A-level students and see what they think Cayman can bring and what we can add to make the education system better, you know, with students and with teachers, what we can do to make the environment a lot safer. And all of that information I want to bring up to the government so that they can make slight adjustments.
Okay, excellent. So you'd be that voice in between, almost like that mediator in between. Okay, excellent. We have to go to a commercial break right now, and when we return, we will still be joined by our newly crowned Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Georgina Kerford, and committee member Latrese Haylock.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Avernale Zini Foster Scott, 1915 to 2001. Miss Zini was born on Cayman Brac to Captain Bertie and Huldah Foster, the eldest of 7 children. From a young age, she helped her parents rear her younger siblings. In 1933, she married Captain Clyde Scott. Together, Miss Zini and Captain Clyde, along with their 9 children, raised cattle and crops, exported coconuts and thatch rope, owned and operated a general store, gasoline pump, and soft drink bottling plant, and were pioneers in the heavy equipment business, having established Scott Development Company in 1964. Although she had only a primary education, her natural leadership, business acumen, integrity, honesty, and ambition made her one of Cayman Brac's most successful women. Miss Zina worked in her office and until her early 80s and continued to sign the company's checks until a few weeks before her death. She was recognized by the Cayman Islands Real Estate Brokers Association in 1995 and received the Distinguished Woman Award from the Minister of Women's Affairs in 1999. Shortly before her death, she was awarded the Certificate and Badge of Honor.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks this afternoon. And in studio, we have Georgina Kerford, our newly crowned Miss Cayman Islands Universe, and committee member on the Miss Cayman Islands Universe team is Latrese Haylock as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. Now, you were telling me before the commercial break what you were focusing on in terms of, at least socially, as Miss Cayman Islands, what you want to do in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were speaking about what advice or suggestions you can give the Ministry of Education after you go to the different high schools or schools, not just the high schools, to see where improvements could be made, what the kids are liking, and I guess how they're adapting to better, I'm going to say better ways of learning now, because things seem easier. Things seem easier than back in my day, which really wasn't that long ago, but I swear it was a lot harder then. It was a lot harder then. So your generation is blessed with a lot more easier access to
Yes, definitely.
education.
With the access, there is a lot more. We have it online now. We can do textbooks online, read online. Right. But the information that we are learning is definitely upgraded and improved. Because I remember when I was in high school, when I went to the schools, I see some of these kids learning the things that I learned in grade 8 or year 8. They were learning it in like grade 4. So it is definitely getting a lot harder. But we are getting more accessibility. So I do give creds for all the students in high school and primary school now, because when I saw some of their work, I was like, wow, that's you starting this at a really early age, and that's great to see. Yeah,
I feel like the motor process skills, brains, everything's just working a lot faster now for a younger generation. And I don't know if it's because of how much media you can consume from such an early age, which is a very natural thing, right? As opposed to my generation, we were more outside and more interacting with tangible things around us. So it's a little different learning process in that sense. So I think it'll be good to get your views and to help give some more ideas to the Ministry of Education in that sense. We spoke about your travel to Israel and what training is looking like for that. But when you actually arrive in Israel, what's your game plan now? And I ask because we know that you're going to have your photo shoots, you're going to have your outings that you're required to do. But in order for you to stand out more, because we know it takes some work. What is your game plan for when you arrive in Israel?
Well, I definitely want to get to know all the girls and see the way they walk, talk, and what they do with their social media. But definitely social media is something that I want to keep up to date with every day, new posts or updating my social media so everyone in Cayman can see and blogs all around the world can see, because nowadays social media is one of our biggest ways to connect. And if you can keep updated, that will definitely keep the public knowing what's happening. But I want to make sure that I have like all my costumes, my designs, my dresses, everything I have. I'm a very organized person, so that's something that I want to make sure I carry with me over there, that I'm not rushing, I'm not everything will be hectic. I want it to be as smooth, but I can't wait to meet all the other girls and see the challenge that I have in store for December.
Well, you mentioned costumes, so do we get a little idea of perhaps who's designing this year's costume? Maybe what the theme of it is? Do we get any inkling of an idea?
Of course I'm going to keep that a surprise till December. I don't want anyone to know. I do have some ideas, though, and I know we're going to meet with a committee and see what we think can top Mariah's costume, because that was just amazing.
It was beautiful, yes.
It was. And she was telling me about how, it had to take apart and how big it was. She never even tried it on till the night of, and I give her big credits and kudos, because that is a big costume, and to rock it when you've never worn it before, that is, you don't want to trip or fall or anything. So
and to have faith that it would work out.
Yes.
I think the anxiety alone, I would just tear me apart. So the faith and strength that you have to have, that everything's gonna work out, it's paramount.
Yes, you gotta have faith and just enjoy every moment. That's what Mariah said to me. It's gonna be crazy. You're gonna be up early, and you're gonna be going to sleep very late. but I'm ready for it, and I can't wait to
You're
see
a morning person.
Yes, I am, so that's not a problem, but I love sleeping as well. You know, you need that energy and that reboost to, you know, do better. But I can't wait to go see that culture over there, see something completely different. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to. And the food. That would be pretty cool to try new food.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be an amazing experience, a very different cultural
memorable
experience. So I'm happy for you that you get to travel to Israel as well to check that out. So you mentioned about updating the social media aspect for you. So you're going to really be in tune with everybody who's following you on social media. So we all got to go follow Georgina. You can let us know what your handles are so people know how to find you.
Yes. Well, my Instagram, which is one of my biggest platforms, is Georgina._K. That's probably the biggest platform that I use. I am recently trying to get my Twitter more active, as I know that's something that people use as well. I'm not a big on Twitter, but I'm trying to get there. But yes, Instagram is my biggest platform, and I will be posting most of my information and what's going on in the daily life.
It's the most visual platform too.
Yes,
so for us to really understand what's going on, it's the best platform, I believe, to go on to really get an idea of what's happening for you at the Miss Universe competition. You mentioned in I think it was a CIG TV interview prior to the Miss Cayman Islands competition, that you think the most important issue your generation is facing is social media.
Yes.
And that's in terms of how people are using their social media to portray a perfect kind of filtered life.
Yes.
And not necessarily being authentic and real about what's up there. Do you plan to curate your social media in a more authentic manner?
I do, 100%. And with that, I remember growing up and just seeing all these pictures of women and men, you know, they were all getting their images photoshopped, or different angles, you know, make you look better in certain angles. And for one thing, for the Cayman youth, I want them to know that I'm just a human being. I am a human. I'm going to have feelings, and I'm going to have opinions on things. And I want them to know that they can come up to me and talk to me. I'm not a big celebrity that everyone there, I keep getting like, oh my gosh, can I take a picture? I'm like, yes, of course. Like, I remember when I was in school and people would come and everyone's like, I can't talk to her because she's a celebrity. I'm like, we're just human like you. So I do want to bring that real, and I do plan on, you know, posting the days where, you know, I'm not at my best, and I'm going to be, you know, today was a struggle. I had this, and this. I'm planning on showing people that it's not going to be an easy ride, but I am here for it.
Okay, excellent. I think that's good. The people will connect with that because, as you said, we do see a lot of fake elements in that sense in social media. So the more authentic you can be, people recognize that and they'll connect with you a lot more. So in that term, you'll be more of a queen to them that they can relate to, right? Instead of somebody that's untouchable and, you know, mysterious in that sense, right? Yes. Now, being the youngest or the first 18-year-old in 3 decades, and one of the youngest to win the Miss Cayman Islands Universe competition, how do you think that your reach to Generation Z, I say Z, how do you think that reach Generation Z, you'll be more impactful to them as opposed to somebody who may have won the crown that is in their, you know, 25, 26 years old?
That when I was talking with the girls on Wednesday, I could actually relate to them, and that's one thing that I think will be a big advantage for me. As I remember when I was 16, and I think I went out to one event and I was meeting one of the Miss Cayman Islands, and I was telling her about the school, but because they have been out of school for such a long period of time, they don't understand how much change has gone into schooling and social media. So I feel that will give me a big advantage because I know what's going on. I'm still in school. I know the struggle it takes, you know, study, final exams, projects. I know all of that. And I'm just excited to talk to all the youth and see what they want to see from me in this next year and what I can do to make Cayman better.
You were 16 when you went and met one of the Miss Cayman Islands.
Yes.
Okay, so...
And that they were saying that
That's
they
Khadijah
can't
or
relate.
Mariah, I think. That would be.
Yeah, well.
Maybe Khadijah?
Caitlin, probably.
Okay,
yes,
or Caitlin,
yes.
yeah.
She probably won't remember me, but.
I'm sure she does now.
No, yes. But
did you think then that I'm going to enter this pageant?
Since I was a little girl, I wanted to. Okay. I remember seeing at Pirates Week, each district would come out. You know, East End would represent
with their festival queen.
Yes, they would have the wreck of the 10 sails, and Georgetown would come with maybe, a turtle back, and all of them were just representing their each district. And I thought that was just so beautiful to see our culture, but as well with such strong, empowered women. And Rebecca Parchment, 2007, she is family to me.
Okay.
And she wrote me a letter after she won, after her reign, and was like, you got to keep the family tradition going. You can be Miss Cayman, just keep trying it. Entered twice. Same with Anika Connolly. They entered twice, and both of them won their second time. So, with pageantry as well, you hear a lot of people say if you enter and you don't win, you shouldn't enter again because you've already done it once. But if you look at the Olympics and other types of competitions, if you don't win, you go and you work and you come back and you succeed.
Absolutely. And I think those are great words to share with our listening audience, and in anything, not just pageantry, not just sports, but
just life in general.
You can't give up the first time just because you didn't make it.
Right. And to add on to her age, a lot of girls, when we approach them and say, hey, you're beautiful, you should enter, they're like, well, I'm too young, I want to accomplish this before I do that. But I think that what happens is that a lot of people have this misconception that you have to achieve certain things before you can do this. But what they don't realize is that this is a training ground for you. So just as you guys mentioned, that once you do it the first time, you move on, do something else, and then try it again. You never know that growth that you receive from participating in a pageant. I think that not a lot of people look at it as that. I think people on the outside, they look at pageant as the final event that night, but they don't realize all of the hard work that goes on behind it. And people would say, like, well, what kind of hard work? Like, what's so hard about doing it? So, I mean, I guess I would
tell them to come and try it out for themselves.
Great points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I want to make that more aware in my year as well. And for the next contestants for 2022, I want to take more videos behind the scenes and catch them off guard, because you get to see the moments when, we have been in heels for over 6 hours and our feet are hurting, but we keep trying, we keep going. The tears, the happy tears, the sad tears, you give your all. And I can say for some of the girls, and they can admit to themselves, the past 2 months, it was just back to back, and we all improved so much and learned things about ourselves that we wouldn't have learned if we didn't enter.
It's literally intense training to become the ultimate refined female, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've seen the growth from the night the woman is crowned to that year that she is Miss Cayman Islands Universe. I have seen that growth. You'd have to be blind not to notice that growth and not to notice the difference, even just in confidence, how they carry themselves, networking, interactions with people. It's such a beautiful growth to see. So I think for you having this experience at 18 years old, this is going to be such a huge growth spurt for you as well.
Yes.
Not that I'm saying that you don't have the confidence or anything, but it just means you're going to get this experience a lot sooner than many of the women in recent years have gotten. We have to go to a commercial break right now. We don't have our next guest. If you remember, it was going to be Minister Bryan, so we're still waiting on Minister Bryan to come. If the ladies would still like to continue to chat with me for the next few minutes, you're welcome to. And we're just going to go to a quick commercial break right now.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Had a look at those investment options yet? Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed. That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners would like to remind customers the closing time for all stores is 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Puritan Cleaners, 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Now 10% off prepaid on $20 orders and up. Household and wedding dresses remain at standard offer. 10% off on prepaid orders. Drop off and transfer for pickup from any of the 3 Puritan stores for your convenience. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman Breakfast is back this Saturday, September 25, starting at 7 a.m. at the Lions Community Center. Enjoy a tasty Caribbean breakfast of fried fish and fritters, liver and onions, ackee and saltfish, as well as turtle gumbo, starting at only $12. Come out. Help support your community. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman supports sight screening, prostate and colon cancer awareness, Miss Teen, Spelling Bee, and so much more. Get your Caribbean breakfast and support the Lions Club of Grand Cayman in their community efforts this Saturday, September 25, starting at 7 a.m. at the Lions Community Center. To better protect the community, hand sanitizer will be available and Caribbean breakfast lovers should wear a mask. Each Tuesday and Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of the Business Buzz is brought to you by Optical Outlook. Visit them at their new location in Anderson Square. Telephone 746-2020. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook.
Know the risks of underage drinking and be prepared to have a conversation about them. Establishing yourself as a trustworthy source of information on alcohol will make your child more inclined to ask questions and look to you for support and guidance. For tips, log on to www.ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, and in the studio with me this afternoon, we have our newly crowned Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Georgina Kerford, and committee member Latrese Haylock. All right, ladies. Again. So we talked about a couple things there with looking forward to Israel, your game plan in Israel, what your game plan is for the Cayman Islands, how you hope to serve best as our Miss Cayman Islands Universe. And I want to talk about the pageant night now. So we know last Friday, September 14th, I believe in the morning time, we all thought the Miss Cayman Islands event was still going on. And then I think it was a press conference that afternoon. We find out that it's not going on.
Yes.
But that morning, I believe you did your interviews because you have a part of the competition, the actual competition that the ladies are graded on, includes a morning of interview, even though it was the day before. Yeah?
Yes.
Is it usually the actual morning of Latrese, or is it? Okay. Yeah. But this time it was the Friday morning.
It was a whole week. So the day that the pageant was supposed to be, the day the pageant was supposed to be the 11th, we did it that morning. So we had a whole week to kind of
so yours was the morning of.
Yes.
Now, knowing, I guess, well, it being Saturday morning, you knew at that point there was going to be no competition in the evening, correct? How did that change anything for you?
Well, on Friday night when we did a rehearsal and they said, we're going to have a meeting right after we finish rehearsal, I was like, all of us were like, oh no, what's happening? The nerves started to build a little bit. And it was kind of nice knowing that I did have a week, because the week of unfortunately, my face actually swelled up. And I was not feeling the best. I had an allergic reaction, so I was kind of thankful that I had another week to relax and get better. But I think they should implement that for the next Miss Cayman, or do it the night before, because we were up from 4 a.m. doing our hair and makeup. And if we stayed awake till the night of, and I didn't go to sleep till 4:30 the Sunday morning, the person, whoever wins, would be up for over 24 hours. And I think they should do it the night before and leave the girls to rest in the morning, get their beauty sleep and be, refreshed for the night.
Wow, so we can safely say that perhaps Minister Kenneth Bryan here might have stressed you ladies out a little bit that morning.
It's okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to yourself and the listening audience, and congratulations again. I know I gave you congratulations the night of, but this is a pleasure to do so publicly, and to committee member for all the hard work you guys have done. It's really pleasant to be here. I wasn't expecting to share audience with you today, but I'm glad to do so.
Well, we were speaking with them for a few more minutes until you came. So
no, actually, it's good because I'm
going
to talk a little bit about the reopening, but Miss Cayman is a very important organization for the Ministry of Tourism, so great opportunity to talk a little bit about that before we move on to the next topic. So interestingly enough, I had a meeting just this week with some of my ministry staff and department staff about the new way moving forward. As you know, I haven't changed the committee or anything like that, but there is some reforms that I would like to see happen with Miss Cayman. And some of those announcements were made the other night with adding a permanent paid position to it and increasing the funding. I don't think we maximize enough the opportunity that is presented with having a symbol of what Cayman stands for. I would like to see more international appearances by Miss Cayman. I've talked to the department already about that. One of the exciting things, we're having something, I think it's in Toronto, where Ministry of Tourism sponsors a Porsche event, a racing event, where I think it would be wonderful for her to wave the flag as they get started, kind of thing. In my mind, Miss Cayman is more than just beauty, but the intelligence of the individual, what they stand for, and see the beauty in their brains. And I want to see more expansion on that, maybe having some online platforms where she speak, or some writing pieces in the paper on a regular basis, so the kids can start to see that it's more than just beauty, but also what she stands for, where she wants to go, where the reforms in our community. The individual needs to represent transformation of our country as we develop going forward, and every year will be a little bit different. So we want to expand on that more, give it more support, get more sponsors on board, because we want to market the individual of Miss Cayman, whoever carries that title. And what a better place to start than now. Absolutely. So I'm really excited about moving forward with that. And I want to say that you did an amazing job that night. I'm really, really happy. I'm really proud of the other girls as well. But I know that there was a strong passion for you to win because of your educational opportunities that you want. And I'm really happy that you won for that purpose. When any young Caymanian wants to expand in their education, and for them to get that dream fulfilled means a lot. That means we're winning.
It's huge.
It's huge. So congratulations from that perspective as well.
It's a great scholarship that is offered, number one. I think that's a phenomenal scholarship that's offered. Mm-hmm. And secondly, Mr. Bryan, you noting that you want to increase the funding for the committee. That's huge, because I think that you do operate on bare bones, and it's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People don't really understand and don't see that behind the scenes, what's going on to make this happen. But it really is bare bones, and it does so much in the community, so much for the individual. So if we can take this one event and put as much possible into it, we know there's a lot of support and people watching and going.
Well, one of the things I've found over the years has been problematic is the public's perception of what Miss Cayman stands for. You know, I know there have been people who are anti-pageantries type of concept. So the purpose of the reform, so to speak, is to show them it's not just about beauty, and beauty has different forms. So once we start to present that and show the value in it, people will appreciate what we do more sponsors will come on board, more support will come on board, and obviously government has to be the first one to make the step to show the commitment to it, because I know that there's so much value in an icon who represents what we stand for. So we're making the first steps, and I believe over, I hope, my term, that regardless of what happens in 225, that I can leave Miss Cayman at a place better than what it is now. So that's what the whole transformation is really about, you know. I know I get teased a lot about this, but I know a little bit about pageantry life because I was in a pageant or in a competition, being Mr. Cayman a long time ago. And believe it or not, it transformed me as an individual to be able to present myself, have the confidence in the public. Even that was the first time I learned how to tie my necktie.
I think you've always had the confidence, that's for sure.
Exactly.
I can say that.
Exactly. So there's so much benefit, and also for all the young ladies out there, you know, that look up to our queens and use them as an example. So once we strengthen the position of the queen, then we strengthen our young people. I'm also going to share a little surprise here this morning or this afternoon.
Okay.
I wanted to do it at the pageant, but I didn't. One of the things I want to look into, and I may get some slack for this, but I think I know directly firsthand the value of it, but considering bringing back Mr. Cayman.
Oh, yes, I was just about to mention that. I actually had some young males asking about that.
Yeah?
Yes.
See, that's good, because obviously I think most of us recognize young men have more challenges than young women, particularly with confidence and this macho man concept.
I think different. They have different challenges. We're faced with different challenges.
You're right. Not to undermine one or the other.
Right.
But I think a pageant or a competition of such sort can be a good training ground for show young men what it's like to be a man, as well as to see the intellect that they can present and what offerings that they can stand for in our community. I tell you firsthand, it changed my life. And I think that if I can convince my colleagues and the greater community, that I think it could be a beneficial thing, because both sexes need a symbol to look up to aspire to be, and that one is in the public forefront, you know. So I hope that this may be the first time the public is hearing it. I don't know if they would support it, but I'm going to advocate for it. I've already kind of put a little hint there in my ministry, and maybe I'll have a little budget for it in the new year.
I think that sounds very exciting. Yeah. So on that note, we're going to go to a commercial break. That was great news to leave our listening audience with. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us in the studio this afternoon. And I wish you the best of luck, especially in your preparations to go to the Miss Universe competition in Israel.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. All right, commercial break. And then we're back with Minister Kenneth Bryan.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its valued customers and the motoring public of planned works to upgrade the water supply infrastructure along Palmdale Avenue, Success Circle, Nevard Close and Damascus Close. Preliminary work will begin the week of 6th September. Work will take place weekdays between 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The project will last for approximately 12 to 15 weeks. During the course of the works, traffic management measures will be in place, with signs directing the traffic flow. Motorists are encouraged to drive with with caution when they are in the area to protect their safety and the safety of the Water Authority's staff. Customers in the area may experience service outages throughout the work. The authority will make every effort to give advanced notice related to outages. Customers can visit our website www.waterauthority.ky for outage notices. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it undertakes these works and apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years.
So much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
A laptop is an essential tool that facilitates teaching and learning in the new digital society. Through the One-to-One Laptop Initiative, the Ministry of Education has purchased laptops for every child enrolled in government, primary and secondary schools. Collect a laptop from your child's school today and ensure that your child is not left behind as we forge ahead with our digital education strategy. This is a message from the Ministry of Education.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks this afternoon. And in studio we have Minister for Tourism, the Honourable Kenneth Bryan. He's joining us to give us the details on the Phase 3 COVID-19 regulation changes. We are in Phase 3. I was confused about that for a little bit. And he's also going to answer any questions. We're inviting people to give us a call. So I'm going to allow Mr. Bryan to set the stage here. But if you do want to give us a call, you can do so at 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp us at 925-3261. And before Mr. Bryan speaks, I'm asking all callers to, I know there's going to be several calls, so please be succinct with your question. So Mr. Bryan has the ability to answer as well in a good amount of time, and as well to get to the other calls that will be coming in, because we do have information to share. I have questions to ask, and I know we want to get through this information.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Okay, so thank you so much for having me on again, and it's a pleasure to be here. There's been a bit of a change on the intent of today's show. I wasn't really going to go into specifics of Phase 3, but it's good that you highlighted that we are in Phase 3.
Yes.
We haven't retreated to Phase 2. It may feel that we're with a little bit more restrictions, but we're still in Phase 3, and we haven't moved on to Phase 4 where the withdrawal of quarantine would happen. So we're technically still open to the to the world to come, but you have to come in under restrictions of the quarantine process, which is the protection from COVID on a high level. So today, what I wanted to do is have communication and dialogue with the listening audience. I was on the show earlier this morning, but I know that most people have their different times for when they listen. Some people listen in the morning, some people listen in the afternoon. So today, I want to ask the public, how do you feel? And what is your thoughts and your processes and your concerns, if you have any, about reopening? Do you want to reopen? Do you want to keep closed? And what things that make you nervous or that you're okay with? How is your comfort level and confidence level in moving forward? Because the truth of the matter is, it is going to be inevitable that we will move forward and reopen the borders to the point of withdrawing the quarantine processes, obviously with some restrictions that we feel necessary to keep the country safe. But I want to start the discussion, because we have to do this together as a country. It's not only about the elected leaders, we have to do it together as a society, so you can get the information and education that you need to be comforted, because we don't want to move into a world where people are having mental health difficulties of anxiety and stress. Oh my God, COVID is here, that kind of thing. Because the world is moving forward in a way where you can survive and live with COVID. But how do we do that? And people need to know that. That's the only way you can be less stressed about the inevitable. So this exercise, particularly the recent outbreak, has given us an opportunity to say, okay, folks, this is what's going to happen, but don't have to be anxious about it. We can control this, we can manage this, and we can do it together as long as we all understand the parameters and the initiatives that the government is doing with the different changes of the regulation to keep us safe. So it's about making sure that we're all in the same mental space about moving forward together. And when everybody is together and everybody's okay and ready for this, then the government can move forward. So we have to use this time wisely, because time is against us, and we need to get the tourism industry, the second pillar of our economy, going, because we depend heavily on those incomes. And it's not about business people, but the revenue that we use to take care of our kids, our seniors, our healthcare system, our roads, and all of these things. So we don't have an endless pot of money. Unfortunately, I wish we did, because there'd be loads of different things I would like to do. So we have to manage that and be fiscally responsible to make sure that the country is running well with the necessary incomes. And tourism is a key component of that. So let's get ready together. Let's be prepared. And how we be prepared is with information and education. So that's what I would like. So starting that off by taking calls about how you feel about it. What are your concerns? So we can possibly answer some of them and get people to a place where they need to be that doesn't cause anxiety and stress.
All right, so we're going to welcome those calls, and I do believe we have a caller. But before we go to that caller, I want to ask you that exact same question. How do you feel about moving forward?
I'm ready. Honestly, I think the government is even ready. But what we are not prepared to do is do it without the people being ready. All the advice we've got from Public Health England, even from our Chief Medical Officer, in our systems in respect to preparation for reopening, have all indicated that we're okay to move forward. I'm glad to see that our vaccination levels have increased, but even at what they were 3 weeks ago, our advice was you can move forward. We chose to err on the side of caution, because we recognize that the recent outbreaks caused a lot of anxiety in our community. So obviously we have failed a little bit on getting people calm enough to understand what it means to live in a world and coexist with a disease that could potentially be deadly. But the world in science and medicine is transforming, where you can find the key indicators to protect yourself by vaccination, healthy eating, making sure your immune system is right, taking your vitamins, exercising properly. And with that extra protection of the vaccine, chances are if you get it, nothing would really happen. Obviously, you always have the extreme circumstances, but we believe that we can coexist to have the benefit of the world.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bryan. We have 2 callers online. Can we take the first caller, Susan? All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you, Ms. Miller.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the Minister, Honorable Kenneth Bryan.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good to hear you on there. I'd just like to say personally that congrats to the new Queen there, and I've had the distinct privilege over the years also have toured them through where I work there, the Pedro Castle, people call it, the old St. James House, and show them a lot about our history, what I know, and the relevance of the different things that occurred there historically that helped to shape us. And so I've met them all, the Miss Keens and everyone, and I remember her cousin Rebecca Parchment and all that very well toured her also. It's been quite a while. I've really enjoyed that. And I really felt honored to be able to do that over the years, my little part there.
Sir, do you have a question directly relating to...
Yes,
okay.
I just wanted to say
Thank
that.
you.
But I am going to. Yes, ma'am. You give me a chance.
I did, but okay.
with the reopening, I'm in full agreement with you with that. And we know we have to do that at some point. We also have to get the cruise ship business back up. We know that, and that will come, but it's all dependent on talks with the cruise ship industry and so forth. And we have to, like I was saying to you this morning, that we have to realize that there are chances to take, and there are the ifs and the why nots and so forth, but we have to understand that there are risks in everything that we will do. And going forward, this will be with us for quite a while. Yes, like you said, and others have said, eating the proper foods and taking our vitamins and so forth. And we know that, and many of us practice that over the years, and we need to encourage people too. But those are just voluntary things. And I noticed this morning you said about the cruise pier thing. You said you'll not be supporting, or this government will not be trying to support building cruise piers in Georgetown. But that lends the possibility to other areas. And we know we're many Caymanian expert captains. That's what we are, experts at our work. There's the other areas that it could be built. But I just wondered about that, because we know that there's a distinct possibility that going into the future of the cruise shipping, we might need to build a pier. So as you said, with changing regulations and changing things as we go along, we might have to change that thought. You know, I mentioned this morning about the gambling thing. I think we need to look at that. I'm sure, I don't know how many people are aware of it, but the gambling, the casinos on board the cruise ships are a major part of their revenue. I'm not asking anyone this. I know this is so. And we have to think that there are possibilities to juggle around them staying overnight and opening their casinos if it's been allowed and so forth. We have to juggle around with that, because we have to try and make as much money as we can.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your comments. We do have to go to our 2 p.m. news headlines, so I had to wrap you up there. And when we come back from our news headlines, if Mr. Bryan would like to comment on what the caller had said, and we can get on with our next callers as well.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Cayman Islands Postal Service will extend opening hours at the airport post office in view of COVID-19 social distancing protocols. Starting Monday, the airport post office will be open from 7:15 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Mondays through Fridays, and 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Saturdays. All other post offices on all three islands will retain their existing opening hours. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, the influential sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says they are willing to resume talks with the South if it ends its hostile policies. Kim Yo-jong was responding to a renewed call from the South to officially declare an end to the Korean War. The conflict, which split the peninsula into two, ended in 1953 with an armistice and not a peace treaty. And R. Kelly's lawyer has compared him to civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. in the closing argument of the singer's sex trafficking trial. Devereaux Kenneth said both men held the government to account, and he urged jurors to be courageous. The 54-year-old singer denies all charges against him in the federal case. R. Kelly, whose full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, is accused of grooming and sexually abusing women and underage girls. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Banks. And in studio with me in this segment of Talk Today, I have Minister for Tourism, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan. And he posed a question to our listeners, is basically just, how do you feel about the reopening? Is that correct?
Yeah. Basically to tell me if you support it being opened, if not, why not? And if you do, why? And where are you coming from with your thoughts? So people come from different perspectives. So somebody working in finance, in construction, in tourism, or just general work, like how does it affect your world and why you've, because sometimes people come in with their own biases. They don't even recognize they have a bias. So we can have the dialogue together. That's what I want to do.
Okay. Did you want to make a comment on what the previous caller had said?
Yes, I want to say thank you so much for the caller. I didn't quite get the question other than the first part about the piers. I did say this morning that the government was not had no intention of building a pier in Georgetown. And I guess in politics you got to be very specific. What I meant was the government has no intentions of building any cruise piers, period, in none of the islands in this administration. So just there's no confusion, because I said Georgetown this morning, meaning is there a possibility for it to be somewhere else? So this government has no mandate to move forward with cruise piers. We are going to enhance the current pier options. What I mean by that is just the experience of persons getting off and on the cruise ship, but that comes after we get things going again.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bryan. We do have another caller online, and I want to remind anybody calling to please be very brief in your comment and allow Mr. Bryan the time to be able to respond to you. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Miss Catherine.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
And I'd like, fine, fantastic. I'd like to make a comment on that success for the islands and of course our leaders, because we want and we need our leaders to be strong. So that's important, and also they are celebrated people, which I think we should never forget. They have the ability to also bring great success and so many different ways here and there, And I think our Honorable Minister, Mr. Bryan, he has a lot of potential, really. He has a lot of responsibilities as the other representatives, wearing different hats, representing different people, different types of people, all sorts of stuff, confusing stuff that I wouldn't want to have such a position right now, I focus on other things. But however, we like to make our input known on our islands issues and those things. But like I said, Mr. Bryan and others in office has quite a bit of potential to do very good things.
Sir, can I ask you, do you agree with the reopening or the phase 3 position that we're in? Do you agree with the government's decisions? How do you feel about it? If you're for the reopening or if you're hesitant, if you could explain why.
I believe in, personally, to be quite honest, I think the majority of our people agree and the reopening. But the thing is that is confusing is the safe reopening, as some people would express. How do you do it? I think there are crafty enough people here in Cayman, advisors here and there, maybe from the outside, very intelligent Caymanian people, and I think we can do it. I don't think that we would run away from success. There are very brilliant people here in Cayman. This can be done.
Oh, great! Thank you so much, sir, for your call.
I want to say thank you for your call as well, caller. I think he highlighted 2 points there that I think I should respond to, is saying that, it's a heavy burden as Minister of Tourism right now. And I think there's much speculation about whether the border opening is I'm the key person responsible for that. I want to clarify that it's not a decision made solely by any one individual. The PAC administration is a group collective decision. Even though I'm the minister in charge of the second pillar of our economy, we still make a decision together as a group. Right. So it is not only my decision, it is a decision of the group together. In respect to what safe reopening is one thing I got from his comment that, yes, people want to open. They see all the benefits of opening, but how do you do it in a safe way? The truth of the matter is, when we open, there's no way to say that it's going to be risk-free. That comes with the risk, but also that comes with the benefits that we need in respect to our economy. And this is why the government has been focusing so much on trying to educate people on how to prepare yourself to live in an environment, in a world that you can have COVID in your midst, because it's going to be there for the foreseeable future. All the evidence say that we're going to probably be living with COVID before it flatlines out at least 5 years. And we're going into year 2 now. And predictions are it's going to be quite similar to the common cold, and science will evolve and cures, or not cures, but medication to allow you to live with it, and get yearly boosters and those kinds of things, or health regimes that you can help protect yourself. So with that inevitable coming, we want to see if we can survive earlier, because the longer we last not opening, the more and more we could potentially slip into debt, which will not only have an effect on this administration, but also on the next generation. And there's a responsibility that we have to say, where do we balance the risk with the reward? And that's what we're trying to do now. And we believe that there's ways to manage a reopening, that we can do it safe enough. But we have to get people to understand that we can do it together. So one thing I'm happy about is the increase in vaccination. I'll take this opportunity to encourage persons to go out and get vaccinated if you're not, and also try to change your healthy regimes by way of eating healthier and exercising, and make sure you take some sort of regime of vitamins, because there's no there's no way to fight COVID other than your body's immune system. Even the vaccination itself is actually a way to tell your body to prepare to fight for a disease. And your natural immunities that you get from your strength, from your vitamins, your diet, your vegetables, and all those things is also a booster to help in this war against the COVID. So go ahead and do those things, because we're going to get to a point where probably we will reduce the quarantine, obviously with restrictions like persons who come here have to be vaccinated. Also, when you arrive, if you're a tourist or even a Caymanian for that fact, to go away and come back, when those quarantine restrictions move away, we'll be testing on arrival, testing on day 4, testing on day 5, just until the science says the incubation period is for a certain period of time. We may do testing throughout the whole thing. And if you were found to be quarantined, you just self-isolate. We want to make sure that the restrictions are not too burdensome on persons' ability to still operate. If everybody operates appropriately with their behaviors, we can live and survive and manage living with COVID in our midst. So that's the intention. But I want to hear specific concerns that maybe I can answer them, and that to mitigate them, so you can feel a little bit more comfortable from the anxiety. So I'll stop there and take the caller.
Well, yeah, we'll take the next caller. But 2 things on what you said that I want to know.
Okay.
respectfully, I disagree
Okay.
with the first part when you said that government has been informing people on how to live with COVID, how to when it comes. I don't believe that's what's been done.
Okay.
We have very well communicated to the social distancing, the sanitizing, the wear your masks, but not, and I'm not in any way putting blame or faulting anybody for this, because we don't know exactly how to communicate what the next message should be, because we haven't been in this position before.
Got it.
So that's one thing, but I
Can
believe...
I answer that one?
Hold on.
Okay,
I'm almost at my point. I'm going to land my plane. I believe that the messaging at this point going forward, because we can see the panic that did happen from residents in regards to the two clusters of community transmissions that happened, that messaging has to now be, okay, this is how we have to cope with the possibility of COVID, what we can do to avoid it as much as possible, how our lifestyle might change. Because, I mean, respectfully, we knew this was going to happen, and we should have been prepared for it.
Well, I accept fully responsibility for the lack of communication.
That's not your complete responsibility, but I
No.
thank
But
you.
Listen, I'm a member of this government, and we're all in it together. No matter who it is, we take it together. That's why we're called the pack, more than just the translation of the words. So, yes, I'll take a level of responsibility for the failure in communication, because I'm one of the communicators in the group. And we ourselves should have fine-tuned what living in COVID means, like an average day for an average person. What does it mean if I get it? Or is my job, am I going to go into lockdown? All of these things. So there's a learning curve that I must admit that all of us as members have recognized, say, okay, we got to boost up our communications. And we're actually doing that communication plan as we speak. And that's where you've seen that the communications are starting to change about your health and what to do. And even our reaction to the school recently. The next time, if there is another child who is found with COVID, we may not have to lock the whole school down.
Right.
Because we've recognized that this is the first time we've actually tested our vaccination of our population, where we see that, thankfully, so far, knock on wood, that even anybody who's found positive has not had a severe infection. So that tells us that the things that we've been putting in place, and why the Premier has been asking people to please get vaccinated, because that wall of protection that you hear we talk about is actually starting to work. So that experience gives education as well. So we're learning, and I think not only the government but also the community to say, okay, we have a lot of people locked down. Even those persons who are locked down are going, but what in the world are I locked down for? My children fine, they run around annoying me to pieces, and they say they're positive, that kind of thing. So we're going through an exercise together. And once we learn together, we can fight any struggle together. So yes, you will see the government improve on their communication, fine-tuning what an average day in the midst of COVID means. What does it mean if a tourist come off, and if they're found for COVID, what will happen? So the anxiety and the mental stress is reduced, because it's all about the quality of life. And I agree with you. I accept it, and we're going to do better, I promise.
Great words. Thank you for that.
You're
We're
welcome.
going to go with that hope to the commercial break.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
You can now register to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the My HSA patient portal. Sign up is available at all HSA locations and at various sites throughout the community. To register, all you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and a valid email address. Visit hsa.ky and click My HSA Patient Portal for the sign-up schedule and more information.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, and I have in studio with me this afternoon Minister for Tourism, the Honourable Kenneth Bryan. And he has put out a question to the public, asking people to call in and answer. How do you feel about the reopening plan? What are your hesitancies? And if you're for going forward, let us know why you're for going forward in reopening the country. We do have a caller online, if we could take that call. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon. I'm calling to put my support that we really should reconsider opening back up the country. Now, in addition to that, I'm actually calling on behalf of a family member who is a 24-year-old graduate, university graduate. She got her degree in hospitality management. Right now, she's just currently employed, only making $4.50 an hour. Now, where is the opportunity going to come for this young Caymanian who chose to go overseas to study? She got her degree a few weeks back and she heard the announcement that the border was not going to be reopening. This is killing her spirit. What is the government doing about young people like that? They're educated. They're making below minimum wage. The little bit of gratuity that she's getting, that's not nothing much. But if the borders were to reopen, she had a better chance then of getting some more income and being able to live on her own. She can't live on her own right now. She got to be living with her mother still because she wouldn't be able to afford expenses of paying rent, buying food, just only earning such minimum wages. Another point I need to make, what is the government doing about a lot of people are still coming in on work permits, and some of those jobs, they're not managerial jobs or even higher positions. They're in a lower position, and these young people can be trained for that, even though they might have their degree in a different field. They can come in and they can learn and they can train and they can earn a higher wage during this pandemic that we're all experiencing here now. So some consideration got to be given for these young aspiring Caymanians that went overseas, got their degree, and because she chose hospitality management, unfortunately that industry is suffering right now. So some consideration got to be given to young people like this.
Miss, before you go, did you say that you're not in support of the borders opening?
I am saying that I am in support of the borders opening.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I was
especially for young people, giving her example.
Yes, ma'am.
The case that she's now faced in.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And that is a prime example of what some of the benefits to reopening, as long as we can do it in a measured and low risk way, is that we do have Caymanians who depend on the livelihood of what tourism offers. And yes, unfortunately, I think that the caller said $4.50 an hour. If the employer is only paying her $4.50, they're breaking the law. What the law does allow is for the employer to supplement the other $1.50 with gratuities, regardless if it's made or not, and there's no gratuities in the pool, it's the employer's responsibility to make it up, because our minimum wage is actually $6 an hour. So I'm hoping that that's not what's happening, because the employer can be in a lot of trouble. But that being said, yes, you're right. A lot of Caymanians depend on this livelihood, and we're trying our best to encourage employment within this industry. As the Minister of Tourism, you saw recently in my announcements of working with the tourism industry, that particular of CETA, encouraging them to go ahead and source the labor you need within those displaced workers first, as well as persons, young people coming from school and from the hospitality and tourism school at UCCI. And I'm adamant about that, so much so that we've had a few disagreements with CETA, but we've come to a good balance of where ensuring that they have first priority on Caymanians, and then once they satisfy that, they will get the necessary extra labor that they need from outside that is not available in Cayman. But we are putting Caymanians first, but we do need to get the problem or the issue about reopening for a tourism product resolved, and we have to do that together. And the government is not going to dictate and override the people and push them down a road that they don't want to be. So we have to educate ourselves together that it's okay, that that though there's some risk, you can protect yourself and be prepared for when we do make that decision.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryan. We have another caller online. Susan, if we can take that phone call. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Kath, and good afternoon to the Minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm not going to ask you to see a question I asked you this morning. But hearing the last caller, the pay should never drop to $4.50, regardless of whether it's being supplemented or made up, whatever they want to term it, from gratuities. Because I can remember, I'm getting up over the hill now, and I've been in tourism for a long time. I can remember when the pay for even the maid services at hotels were a lot higher than $4.50 an hour. We have allowed these people to come in here and rape us. That needs to stop, because the managerial are also collecting those gratuities too. Check into that, Mr. Minister, please.
Okay.
Because I know for a fact it is still going on. I do support the reopening, but like I said this morning, we have to be cautious as how we do it.
Correct.
Thank you, sir, for your call.
Well, thank you, caller. I appreciate your assessment of our current industry, and I do agree with you that the pay is quite low. And I'm glad to know that we're currently going through a minimum wage review, and I hope that review comes back quite quickly so we can start to make the necessary changes in respect to minimum wage. Your other point about reopening, doing it safely, this is what the discussion is about, because we do believe we can do it safely, but it's more about the mental understanding and of everybody and what they can do. So it's like, say, for instance, a hurricane is coming, and you don't tell the people that it's coming. They can't go to the grocery store and buy foods or lumber to patch up their doors and windows. So this is about the preparation of it and the education of understanding that you can survive. We've gone through many hurricanes. It's just a part of the process. And humankind, and I try to be balanced in our agenda here, humankind have faced adversities forever and a day. I was trying to give an example to somebody the other day to say, can you imagine what the world was like for persons who were living in the UK in World War II? And the war, that war, I think, lasted 6 years or 5 years. I can't remember how long it was. But you had to be able to figure out that, go on and move on without and survive, because any day your risk was there could be a bomb coming from the sky. But they didn't just retreat. They tried to figure out how normal life was. How was it for the kids? Tried to keep the mental stress away from, you're constantly in danger. And humankind deals with risk every day. When you get in the plane, you don't know if the engines are going to fall out. But
Right.
but you try to mentally put yourself in a space where I'm going to be okay as long as I take the necessary precautions. And that's what I want, and that's what the government wants us to do, to say, listen, there's things that you can do personally, your own personal responsibility to keep your hands clean, to wear masks when you're in risky areas. You don't have to have a mask on all the time. But if you're in an area where you're not sure who the persons are and whether or not, if you're with your own family and you know that, that the circumstances of their health is fine, but you're in public places, wear a mask. There's no big deal. Eat healthy. Do less crowded areas if you don't have to. I mean, it's just a normal pattern of your behavior. And if you change that while the world goes through this transition of figuring out how to manage COVID, we will be okay,
Right.
And persons who are vulnerable, those who can't take the vaccine, unfortunately, it may be a little bit awkward for you because you will be at a higher risk than others. So you don't get the luxury of going to the movies or going to a bar or a club or something like that because the risks are a lot higher for you. But there's things you can do yourself by adjusting your personal habits and stuff that still allows you to have a good high quality of life. So it's a transition, but we have to do it together by knowledge.
We have, and keyword transition.
Yes.
So there is going to be, if we do not adjust to a change, we die out.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And that's in civilization, societies, globally and historically. You have to adjust to change.
Yes.
Or you just get left behind.
Yeah.
We do have another caller online.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. We're great. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
I would like to voice my opinion for a reopening. I think we should continue with the reopening. I understand that, moving to 7-day quarantine is obviously not a popular thing. Flights have, United Airlines canceled all flights until November now. I think what would benefit the country and a lot of people that have this mental anguish, of like just not knowing when we're going to open now. The goalposts keep changing, and I'm not saying that's on you. I'm just saying it's happening. Is if the government could give us, if this is here at this time, we'll do it. If not, no. Like, we need to see a light at the end of the tunnel. And a 7-day quarantine, yes, the country is technically open, but we all know the country's not open with the 7-day quarantine. So you can't move forward and test. We've been doing this for 18 months, getting ready. I know your government is much newer, so that's not completely your timeline. But we've done the vaccination. We're at a higher rate than anyone in the Caribbean. Like, all the medical science is there. Public Health UK is there with us. There has to be something relayed to the public that this is the date pending this, just so we have a little light at the end of the tunnel, not just for tourism businesses, but just everyday life on island. Because as Chris Saunders, the minister, said yesterday, there's a lot of anguish. There's a lot of mental issues going on. Just people frustrated, people, not necessarily island fever, but I'm saying people just not knowing what's going to happen. When they turn on the TV and they see 100,000 people at a football stadium with no mask and living life normal in there, or in the UK, when are we going to get that chance to show that we've done enough to live life again?
Understood. Caller, thank you so much for that. You made some very strong points. And that's the transition we're trying to do now. And I do agree that those who are for reopening needs to have a light at the end of the tunnel and a confirmed date of, yes, we are going to now make the plunge. With the anxiety levels that we saw, we recognize there's so many people who were anxious, and hence the reason we need to focus on changing that anxiety and getting people mentally prepared. The other reason why you may not have a concrete date yet is because of the outbreak, this being the first one that we've had since the very first time it was introduced to the Cayman Islands. It gives us, as elected members, as well as the medical staffing in our healthcare system, an opportunity to make an assessment. Okay, so we've learned a few things over the last 10 to 12 to 14 days that, people aren't as sick even though they've gotten it. How much manpower do we need? Do we need to do as much tracking and tracing as we've been doing? A lot of things we'll learn every single day as we move forward. And that gives the government a little bit more information to make a concrete decision. Because what we don't want to do is, from a business perspective and your livelihoods as individuals, is to say we're going to do this date and we're not certain about it. We felt confident of the 14th, and the outbreak gave everybody a bit of a shock. And we said, okay, let's pause. Because we always had the contingency of, listen, we don't have to move forward with every stage. It was contingent on how things were. So now that we've assessed that, we felt, we haven't fully assessed it yet, but we're in the assessment process. I'm certain that the government, me being a part of that, will assess the situation and make some decisions. And hence the reason you have seen the tone and attitude of the health minister on the press conference yesterday is that these regs are not set in stone. So we have to do a lot of reviewing over the few weeks, and we'll do that. And once we get back the medical reports, hopefully everybody is out of quarantine and the virus is gone out of their systems, that we feel comfortable enough to say, okay, so if a few persons come off the plane and we have 20 people who happen to get it out of the 500 we had this week that came to Cayman, we don't have to panic. You know, it's just unfortunate they would have to go into quarantine and life can go on. I want to say also to the caller that, yes, I agree, this is not only about tourism-related matters. We have a lot of Caymanians here who have family members elsewhere. It is difficult for them to plan their visitations to their loved ones who they haven't seen in years because they've been playing it safe, where they can't go because when they come back home, they got to quarantine for so long. It takes away from their vacation time. People had flights for travel for during Christmas, and the back and forth is making it difficult. They have to get refunds on their flights. We know all of that chaos is creating problems outside of just tourism, just your average person. And we're trying to mitigate that as soon as possible. And I just ask a little bit more patience, particularly for me as Minister of Tourism. Trust me, I know the industry wants to open, and we're trying to balance the humanity of everybody's thoughts and views and points, that we feel that we're almost there. So we're starting to see this process of transformation of person's mindset, their anxiety level, the stress levels are starting to reduce, and we think we're close. And I'm hoping that within the next 2 or 3 weeks we can have better announcements for the public.
All right. I want to pick up on something the caller had said when he discussed the point about quarantine period increasing for securely verified
individuals.
Yeah, individuals. It is now 7 days. Can you please explain to me why it went from 5 to 7 days?
Okay, well, the thinking behind that, and I hope I'm not stepping on my minister's toes, the Honourable Sabrina Turner, Minister of Health and Wellness, but the logic there was we weren't certain at that time, and we're still not certain right now, about the incubation period of the virus. So right now we have a protocol of a PCR test being done at least within 72 hours before arriving in the Cayman Islands, and that's 3 days. So naturally you want incubation persons to be not having the virus at least within 8 days, so you can know that, okay, they're not going to get it. Because it hasn't shown up by then, you're not going to get it at all. So you can't tell when a person took the test. Did they take the test at the 70th hour before they came? Did they take it 4 hours before they got on the flight? So it dictates how long the incubation 8-day period that we were looking at. And what we were finding, and based on some of assessments, is a lot of people were doing a little bit closer to the flight date. So then you're technically only in isolation for about 5, maybe 6 days. And it was shorter than the 8-day expectation. So we added on the extra 2 days just for the safety measure to say, let's see if this is what it is that's causing it. Are people still being negative on day 5 or day 6, actually, because most people don't get tested till the next day.
Right.
But showing negative, but it's showing up on day 8. So we thought we would do that, but it wasn't a strong indication that was what the problem was. But we did a measure by saying, listen, better to be safe than sorry. Now, we know that that's an inconvenience for the public. Trust me, most persons who say, I'm going to take 5 days of my vacation in quarantine, or my boss allowed me to work from home so I can stick down to Miami for a couple of days to see my uncle, my aunt, or buy some clothes for my kids, whatever it may be, and come back and be in quarantine. Now they have to think about 7 days. I know it's harmful, but we have to do, you wouldn't want us to not think about all measures, and that's what we're doing now. And the hope is that as we review this information, that maybe in a couple of weeks we can let's go back to the 5 days, or potentially announce a date we're moving forward on this journey to transformation of living with COVID in our midst, and withdraw all the quarantine altogether.
As I take off my neutral civil servant hat and say, I'm looking forward to when we don't have to quarantine anymore.
I must say,
as long as we're securely verified and vaccinated, right?
That's the hope.
There's a lot of questions about securely verified. What does this mean? And as a piggyback to that question, we're asking travelers are still allowed to come here. Tourists are right now allowed to come here as long as they are securely verified.
Yes.
So what is our process in ensuring that they actually are securely verified? What are we looking for from these travelers? How do we make it as easy for them to have what they need?
Okay. All right. Well, that is probably one of the biggest issues that we're having from a Ministry of Tourism perspective, as many people in the industry saying securely verified is problematic for many of our guests from the United States. So what securely verified is that no matter where you are in the world, you get vaccinated, whatever authority or healthcare provider that is will give you some sort of certification. You've gotten it. It's like a license. Oh, here's my license on paper.
Right.
And it's hard for our professionals here to look at the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different authorities and healthcare providers to understand whether this is real or not. So there's no common place where we can say, we know that this is not a forgery. And when it's becoming a document, it becomes easier for people to forge it, right? So we don't know if a person just copied this, take out a name and put it in, just put the word negative or vaccinated on it. So that became problematic. So what the industry and everybody in the world wanted to go is, okay, we need this common authority that can access all of these documents, verify them to make sure that they're real, and give us something back that is easily accessible so we can confirm, yes, they're vaccinated and they're not telling the truth. So this common authority is where you get this QR code and this scanning ability, and that's ultimately what it is. And I think it's common trust. I can't remember. I'm in so much trouble if I don't remember this.
I can't remember it either. So.
If any of my team are listening, can you send me by text what is the QR code company's name that we're using? Okay. And basically the company, their job is to give you a QR code that they go and do the investigations to make sure that your documentation that you've offered to say I'm vaccinated, and verify it. And once it's verified, then they give you a QR code, so we don't have to do looking at documents and all that. Our officers can just take a machine and scan that code, and it comes up and says vaccinated.
Right, which we're doing that now. HSA has
doing it locally.
Awareness campaign doing that. I'm about to be signed up to get my digitally secured, verified.
I think I'm halfway done on mine. So basically that's what that is. And we're doing ours locally, but internationally it's becoming problematic because we have a large world, billions of people. So with people wanting to come here, they have to be able to get this, because we can't risk persons forging things, because if they're forging it, that means they're not vaccinated. That means there's a higher probability of them actually being at risk for COVID. So this securely verified is coming problematic, but we believe as time progresses in the development of technology and more people are being aware of it, there'll be a higher pool of people who are understanding that this is the new way forward. It is. I'm promising you that 6 months from now in the new year next year, this is not even going to be a question. Almost everybody's going to have it, unless you're going to have problems in any jurisdictions you go to. Just recently, you heard the United States has announced that you have to be vaccinated to go to the United States. It's only a matter of time they're going to say, you better have a QR code, because they're not going to go and deal with all the different hundreds of thousands of different authorities across the world.
I actually didn't know that they're requiring visitors to the U.S. now to be fully vaccinated.
Yes, that was announced last week.
Wow, in their free world.
Yeah, they're free. I know, right?
I'm very surprised.
So things are changing, and they recognize it themselves. So to be honest with you, for those who are here, who want to travel to the United States, I would encourage you to reach out to HSA. They're offering for persons who are vaccinated here a QR code, because that may be something you need to travel to the United States as well. So that's the purpose of the securely verified process. And some people say, well, who's going to forge or something to come to the Cayman Islands? You'd be surprised how many people are.
Oh, yeah.
So
easy.
But we have to make sure it's easily accessible for our customers to come, because if you're saying that the offering isn't there in their state and they can't get securely verified, what you're saying to them is you need to go into 7 days quarantine.
Right.
And nobody's going to use 7 days of their vacation when the average rate of vacation in the Cayman Islands is 5.5 days.
Well, for us to come here and you're not securely verified, but you're vaccinated, it's 10 days quarantine as per the regulations that were updated yesterday. Or they went into effect
if
today,
you're
right?
not securely verified.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. But 7 if you are securely verified.
Exactly.
Vaccinated traveler. I want to ask a question because I know last week at a press conference you had mentioned, you weren't on the panel, but I believe you were brought up to answer a question. And you had mentioned at that time that you still had to speak to some of the airlines. And their factor in deciding if they were going to resume their normal schedules was to see, okay, have we reduced the quarantine period or do we get rid of it? So I understand we had the caller mention that United Airlines said they're delaying. I believe American Airlines may have pulled out as well.
Yes.
We do know some airlines are keeping their schedule. British Airways is, thankfully.
Yes.
Cayman Airways is resuming a normal schedule for Honduras, for Miami, for Jamaica, beginning October. And I'm hearing Air Canada might start a regular one once a week in November.
Yes, correct.
So have you been able to speak to the airlines in this past week to see where their positions are?
Yes, well, we have, and you've highlighted most of them already. I don't have the list with me, unfortunately. I know that we're updating the travel website as well as Cayman Airways website, and most of the airlines will start to make their own adjustments to their various websites. But the good news is that even though we've paused things, many of the airlines are still making their risk to say, okay, then, we're still going to offer some flights. So rather than having 3 flights a week, we're going to do 1. We still have a flight into Canada. We still have our flights into New York. Still flights to Florida on a regular basis. So we have flights into Jamaica, Honduras, to the UK. So there's still a lot of flights available, but not in the high frequency that the tourism industry needs in order to make a good market. So we depend on them to bring those travelers. Those travelers are then in the hotels. They're in the hotels, and they go out to our local vendors, our local tour guides, and our water sports operators and so forth. So the airlines is a key stakeholder in the success of tourism. And if without their confidence in our reopening strategy, then it becomes problematic for them, because what they have to do their own assessment. Do the stakeholders that they work with, like in the United States, are they going to want to do 5 days quarantine or 7 days quarantine?
Right.
And they've basically said no. So they go, American Airlines is not going to run a flight here to Cayman with 2 people on the plane.
Right.
So they lose money. So they made their own calculations based on their own personal multi-billion-dollar industry assessment on what the traveler will do or not do. So I understand. I expected them to respond in that way. So that's why it's so important for us as a government to get to a place where we are all comfortable for reopening, so we can get to that specific date and say we are moving forward, and we can say it with confidence and delivery, with commitment that the industry says, okay, this government is going to do this. Now, of course, it comes with risk, and every country is going to have the risk, no matter what you do. But they feel confident enough that they will schedule 5 flights a day coming into the Cayman Islands. Now, even that word, 5 flights a day coming in, sounds scary. But if you put the necessary restrictions in place, vaccinated, testing on arrival, testing on day 4, as we start to slowly progress, as well as they have their own health insurance if they get sick, that automatically, if it's severely sick, you can get flown out on a plane. You're not the problem of the Cayman Islands. Not saying that we don't care about them, but we know that there's contingencies to pay for that cost, because it can't be a burden to the government. So putting infrastructure like that, as well as protocols as to what happens if a person is found. So these things are already being discussed. It's about the confidence of the public to take the risk together. And that's what today is about.
Okay, thank you. I one final question. I have to wrap it up. I know Susan in that studio is like, Kathy, I should have wrapped this up. But we know that the schedule didn't go quite as exact on time as we had planned earlier, right? So I'm thankful to have you here. And I just want to make sure you're able to give a final thought. But before you give that, I want to know your response to this.
Okay.
So we know since in the past week, since the phase 3 regulations have changed, we haven't gone back to phase 2. We are in phase 3, but there's been some things that have triggered change. The government was called indecisive, reactionary. They don't know what they're doing. Not really having a plan, not following the science. Why are they telling us one thing and doing the other? What is your response to commentary like that?
Well, it's actually the mic.
We can't hear Mr. Bryan. I can't hear Mr. Bryan. There we go.
Check 1, 2. Okay, there we go. Actually, it's surprising that people say that, because we know exactly what we were intending to do by phasing it, by pausing it. Like, I wish you could be a fly in the room. I was like, what in the world are you talking about? The industry is going to kill me. They want to open. The business needs this. The whole Christmas season is gone. So we made there was that kind of conversation when we decided to do that, right? So we consciously made that decision in the interest of the mental health of our people and preparation. Like I said, you do not allow people to go into a hurricane without having a chance to go get some groceries and put the borders up around their house. So the pausing effect gives us two benefits. One, a true assessment of what an outbreak means and what it looks like, how do we react to it, as well as an opportunity for people to feel that feeling of anxiety and going, oh my God, can I handle this? And also, what are they doing themselves? And it also gave a little scare to those who are not vaccinated.
Well, we saw the numbers. So
we saw the numbers increase.
All of a sudden, they're serious. We might reopen.
So I must admit that there is a serious loss in millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars as a result of us pausing. I recognize that as Minister of Tourism, but we consciously did that because we're not a dictatorial government. We need to make sure we bring our people with us, and you can even you yourself, you're starting to see it as a host on the show. Even in 2 weeks, we're starting to see the tone and the attitude of persons transition mentally and spiritually about moving forward with this and accepting that reality and say, you know what? All right, kids at home, we got to do some different protocols now because we're going to go do this. So you've accepted it. So for persons who say that the government is wishy-washy, we're not. And I can happily stand firm on that. We made the decision, and we made it in the best interest of everybody because we refuse to leave anybody behind. That's what this is about. Yes, it may cost the government itself extra money for a longer period of time. Yes, I'm unfortunately delaying and giving more anguish to the tourism industry and many other business holders. Yes, we recognize that. But we weighed the risk, and we think that in the long term, if everybody's on this boat paddling in the same direction, we'll get to our destination quicker. If we said we need to go south, and then there's a group of 5 paddlers going north, then we're not going to move very fast. So it's about getting everybody on board and being prepared, and coming back now after we've reassessed, okay, how did we handle that outbreak? And be more prepared. So I feel confident that the next time that we say we're going to open, that we are going to open.
Excellent. Thank you. Those are great closing words.
Yes.
I thank you for taking the time. I have so many more questions for you, but
I'll come back again another
do it
time.
Right now.
All right.
You might be like, not with Kathy, please.
No, actually, I enjoyed the conversation.
It was a great conversation, actually. We want to thank everybody for tuning in to Radio Cayman this afternoon, listening to all of our guests and the different topics that we had. And please remember to go to exploregov.ky if you need some guidance on how to deal with COVID-19. It is in our community. We have to understand that we have to learn to live with the fact that the virus is in our community. If you need any guidance on social distancing, wearing masks, any information, anything that you have questions about that you might feel a little bit of fear, please go to exploregov.ky and you can get most of your information there. If not, it will lead you to where you can get further information. Mr. Bryan, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Everybody keep in mind, in the press conference yesterday, Minister Turner, Minister for Health and Wellness, had mentioned that these regulations implemented today could change at any time. So we have to be forward thinking. We have to be ready. We have to be prepared. We can't be... We can't all of a sudden be bringing measures in after. And I mean that as individuals, we have to be prepared. We can't wait for something to happen and then react to it. So let's all do our best to move this country forward and hopefully reopening our borders sooner than later.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio